Good morning, everybody. We welcome you to the CATHEXIS and Herta joint webinar on facial recognition. We will be starting in about 2 minutes time, where we will be doing introductions. So yes, log in, get comfortable, get a mug of coffee, and we will start shortly. Good. We are going to kick off. I want to wish you a warm welcome to all the attendees and all the panelists between ourselves, CATHEXIS and Herta. And we say welcome to our joint webinar on facial recognition between CATHEXIS and Herta as a solution. So the webinar has been set up to be a listen and view mode only. That you will be, as an attendee, will be muted during the duration of the webinar. So don't worry about that. One of our co-hosts, Daryl Berman, will be fielding all of your questions in the Q&A section. So the friendly gent over there, smiling at you. So please feel free to write down and send us through any of our questions into the Q&A box down below. And he will answer them throughout the session as we continue with the webinar. So towards the end of the webinar, we will go through some of these questions and answers just out of interest, because I'm sure you guys will have quite a lot of questions out of the session that we would love to go through. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our co-host, which is Diego. He represents Herta from the international sales, marketing, and business development perspective. And Diego will be taking us through some of the overview around the Herta solution and how it can add value to your organization and your clients. Daryl Berman is our product manager from the international market, which is the right guy to have on board to answer all the specifically technical questions. And lastly, my name is Dean Alkmaar. I represent CATHEXIS as a sales manager, and I'll be taking you through the solution from CATHEXIS perspective, and also how the two systems integrate to offer a proper holistic solution to yourself and your clients in your market. So we're going to have a look at, who CATHEXIS is. We are a video management software developer, and we've been bringing technology solutions from a video perspective into the market for over 25 years, and have been selling solutions into over 53 countries. And to date, we guesstimate that we've got just over 1 million channels of video sold throughout our various different regions that we deal into. We've recently won an award for being the most innovative product in the video management surveillance space. And this was awarded to us by a company called Benchmark in the UK. So they take various different product sets, including video management, access control, camera technology, and they independently benchmark these products to see, how easy it is to get it set up and going. Does it deliver on what it promises, and is it really, from their perspective, is it something that actually brings innovative solutions to the table? And we not only won this category in 2018, but we were awarded this in last year's category as well. So great to see from an international perspective that, you know, we do fight up with some of the best brands out there who were finalists in this actual award itself as well. So from a CATHEXIS perspective, we've got presence in the EMEA region, so head office being in South Africa as a South African-based company. We've got offices in Dubai, in East Africa, as well as in the UK that looks after European region, and then throughout APAC, America North and South, and then Russia, we've got various different distributors that then take our product to market. So quite a lot of access points for you to be able to gain access to the product, a knowledge base, and specifically on online content and the online portals that we do have that gives you quite a bit of information around what we do offer and how you can gain access to that information. If you have a look at where we've been utilized, and it's always good to understand from a product perspective where we've been used. Africa has been quite a great region for us from a banking perspective, having quite a lot of challenges within that space. We've done street and city surveillance projects in Eindhoven, Holland, and another great example is in the city of New York, which is the Port of Albany, for the police and some of the street and city surveillance. Government, the London Stock Exchange is a fantastic reference for us, and they've recently undergone an upgrade after having utilized our kit for over 10 years. They've got a group of consultants together, and they listed us as the product of choice against some key competitors in the market. Education, specifically the tertiary education space, has always been a core focus for us, just from some of the challenges we've been facing, specifically even South Africa, where we've had quite a lot of protest action around fees and access to education. And we're actually seeing aspects of this worldwide where we've been able to bring solutions to the table to be able to really secure premises and the ability to be able to respond very quickly when there are situations that is risk to either the students and or the facilities themselves. So quite a lot that we can say within that space. We have also done quite a lot within the healthcare sector, the UK being quite a big area within the healthcare sector, where we've done chains of hospitals doing exactly that, where we are able to give them solutions around how to look after their patients much better. That's not just security related, but more looking at operational challenges from staff complements, response times, etc. Hospitality within the hotel space, specifically in the Middle East, we've done over 70 of the top 5-star hotels within the Middle East, and that continues being a very lucrative vertical market for us. With the advent of COVID in the last year, logistics have taken quite a special role that we've looked at. We've recently implemented a solution for being able to track containers with one of our other technology partners, and being able to automatically update these transactions as the containers and the trucks reach a logistics site, that they can automatically ingest that into their overhead systems, that they can track and trace when the container goes to different choke points within their premises. And from a logistics perspective, that's added so much value, being able to know where containers are, never mind whether they're actually on site or not. So turnaround time is very big for the logistics companies, and trying to deal with issues of fraud, etc. Manufacturing, mining as well. So heavy and light manufacturing, specifically mining within the African region. CATHEXIS does most of the precious metals mining groups, the second and third largest gold mining group being one of them, two of the great case studies from us from that perspective. And then lastly, various different corporates, big ticket names from an international perspective, similar to Aspen Pharmacare, and remote monitoring sites that we get used in. And lastly, retail as well, which I think in the UK we do the second and third largest retailing group in Europe. They've all standardized on our kits in excess of 70,000 channels being utilized on the CATHEXIS kit. So quite a lot of areas where the product gets utilized, and we've got a lot of use cases where we can talk around how technology was implemented on these sites to be able to deliver real world applications and real world value into these different spaces. So if you have a look at the ecosystem from a CATHEXIS perspective, obviously you've got your product, and there's a lot more to just being able to ingest video. Obviously you've got various different cameras that you need to ingest. We support 80–90% of the commonly used cameras out there. Obviously not everything, but we do have native or direct SDK based drivers from a lot of the top camera manufacturers out there, and we are also an ONVIF partner. But with that, you obviously have to ingest all of this video. You have to bring that in to some kind of recording. You have to manage and process all of this video. You might want to apply analytics and rules to that. You need to be able to get that very efficiently and effectively into a storage array. You then would want to be able to access all of this great information that you've captured. So we've got various different interfaces that would assist you with being able to monitor that. A video wall being an application for some kind of on-site or off-site control room as well. You can do automated switching. We've got various different remote applications from a client and a mobile application or tablet application. And then you might want to add various different rules and value sets or analytics to this video that you've gotten and stored and made available to your clients, and be able to have automated switching of cameras or have analytics analyze all of this video to be able to raise alerts based on what's of interest to their client. And then lastly, we've added a lot of investment into writing a lot of direct integrations into various different products. And that's our third-party integration portion, which is really one of our strongest key aspects of our software. We add value to video and also add value to data that would be generated on various different systems. And systems can be weigh bridges or parking systems for the retailers, alarm panel systems for distributed alarm panels across, let's say, substations, or infrastructure where they need to be able to do visual verification of events that takes place off another system. Point of sale for the retailers as well. We've done various different point of sale drivers, access control being a very big one, fire, escalators, intercoms, cache, various different electric fence monitoring solutions as well. But the reason why we're here today is really, to talk around facial recognition and how together we, with the Herta integration, CATHEXIS and Herta can really put proper solutions on the table. So we'll go through this as we go through the presentation. We'll have a look at that as well. And to note, this being a hot topic within all spaces, GDPR and cybersecurity plays quite a big role in the ability to have a comprehensive response around privacy. So we have a privacy guide that talks specifically to GDPR and within the South African context, POPI legislation, on how we view privacy, what are the tools and the methods available to you to be able to ensure that your customers can reduce risk and increase compliance within the space. And we've got industry standard high-end encryption all throughout these various different modules that I've talked about within the slide, where we ensure that from camera to edge and from edge to core and then outwards, we've got high levels of encryption to ensure that your data and the privacy of the data issues gets addressed around that, and we can actually talk to that as well. So any questions around that, just let us know. So we're going to have a look at, so we talked about the product, we talked around really what we bring to the market. So it really is a focus around solutions that add value. And predominantly it's always been around the security aspect, where, how can we secure premises, how we can get eyes on site, how we can reduce workforce that needs to be on premise and switch over to having event-based, a term being used in our industry is black screen monitoring, in remote or off-site control rooms, where you can consolidate your spend on monitoring your various different sites, which is one or multiple. But also we're seeing a lot of applications around being able to address health and safety issues, COVID being one of the latest challenges, where we've got 3 different components or legs to our solution around how to address COVID-related risks to a business, and how to get a workplace ready for staff to actually enter, as well as visitors and clients and customers as well. And this really talks to being able to improve operational efficiency and effectiveness of applying technology to a business or a customer, and being able to really get, things like theft and shrinkage, or any kind of challenge that that business has, have that addressed. So at the end of the day, the investment that they've made on the product itself, they'll see a return on that, and obviously become themselves more effective and efficient as well. So some of the major feature sets, I'm just going to quickly, briefly go over that, and then within a slide or two, I'm going to hand over to Diego. I want to mention multi-site enterprise-based architecture, and why that's important within this Herta webinar is, if you have a look at a site-based integration that we would have, let's say with a Herta-based product, and possibly another access control solution, and maybe a fire panel, so it all talks to solutions that you generally would see, let's say, in a building. We've got the ability to be able to make all of that data available in a multi-site layer, and be able to, from a remote perspective, be able to manage your various different sites and all the events that come in. And Herta does exactly the same thing, where you would have the ability to share your, let's say, your suspects or your persons of interest databases across multiple sites as well, ensuring that there's a more effective and efficient approach towards securing your premises, knowing who's entering and exiting your buildings from a client compliance perspective, and really managing that properly. CATHEXIS has got quite an advanced event and alarm management product suite, which really talks towards on or off-site control rooms, where you can really handle your events properly. And that could be anything from analytics or third-party integrations like Herta that would feed that alarm-based conditions through. So operators with standard operating procedures, they'll be able to log what they've seen and what they've done, and there'll be an audit trail to be able to report back into the business around how these things are managed. Included in that is the ability to do forensic investigation. So we've built various different tool sets into the software to be able to find evidence and footage very quickly, and this is crucial. This is video 101, and anyone that's been in the security industry would be able to attest to the fact that there's been an incident, and they are asked for the footage and the evidence today, because they need to make live decisions now, but also they need to find evidence at a later stage, and specifically they don't know where the footage is. You've garnered and stored all of this data. How quickly can you get to the footage? So we've got a lot to talk around being able to do that for the clients. Adjacent camera mapping and video wall just talks about being able, from a remote perspective, being able to switch from one camera to the next and associate cameras with each other. So it allows an operator to follow a suspect through a site, specifically if they're not familiar with the site. So it talks about operational efficiency in a control room. So a lot of feature sets that really add value to the video that you're already gathering. Additional to that, ANPR is great. We support over 120 countries and 5 different edge-based camera integrations within that space. And while we're recording all of this data and integrating all these different systems, we're able to tell you when there's something wrong with your system. So there's a comprehensive health monitoring aspect to the solution, and there's quite a lot to be said about that. We've mentioned cybersecurity and compliance. And talking about negating risk, we've also got quite a comprehensive failover solution, server-based failover solution on an application layer we can add to your site. So that really talks about operational uptime as well, and then enriching your video data that you've added into, which is really around video analytics. So that really concludes my side of the overview, and I'm going to hand over to Diego, who will take us through the Herta annotation. I just want to quickly give Diego access. There we go. Okay. Go for it.
Click. Okay. Thanks, Didi. Oh, first of all, thanks for good morning to everybody, and good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining this webinar, and thanks, Didi, for the introduction. Let me explain. My name is Diego. As Didi said, I'm working at Herta. So let me explain a little bit about who we are. Herta is a face recognition software company. So the company started in 2010, and we've been always focused on face recognition. That's why after 10 years, we have lots of experience. We know the market very well. And that's why you can read what Gartner says from us, that we are one of the most mature platforms for facial authentication today. And we have projects and partnerships with partners worldwide. This is important. So we have lots of experience and very focused always on face recognition. We have offices in Barcelona, Madrid, Los Angeles, Mexico, Montevideo, Singapore. And this is something very important. We have partners worldwide, and then you will see later on with a reference that we have spread all around the world. But here is very important. The only way to be one of the market leaders for face recognition during these 10 years is that we invest a lot heavily in research and development. For example, we were the first ones who started running the software over the NVIDIA graphic cards. And this is very important because that gives us the chance to detect lots of faces simultaneously in real time. Okay, so during these years on this heavy investment, we've been getting some awards. IFSEC 2014, NVIDIA graphic cards, NVIDIA, Red Herring, European Commission, Season for COVID, European Technology Awards, ALA's Best Security Project in Latin America, so different projects, okay? But the important is what Herta really does, okay? Because I think this is the key point. Let me show you this video. So this is what we do. It's running, okay? Can you hear it's running the video? Oops. So if you see the video, or the video is not running very well, but that we are able to detect and identify is lots of people passing by the camera without stopping. And this is, as you can see here, most of the people that are passing by the camera were able to detect and identify. So compare all these faces against the database, and if there is a match with the identification alarm, is there no match with the detection alarm? The important is this is always done in real time. So this is critical because if you have lots of people that we cannot wait is till 20, 30 seconds till we trigger the alarm. What we do with this alarm? So this is why it's important, the integration with CATHEXIS. Because at the end, we Herta stops when he triggers an alarm. Then this alarm will go, you will see then after that the integration will go to CATHEXIS. And with the CATHEXIS can start pre-recording, post-recording, or create rules. So this is important because with this, we put it together, the both solutions, we are offering a complete solution to the customer. He only needs to check at the end one platform once he sets up Herta. But this is important. We detect all the faces that are passing by the camera on real time, independently if there is 1 to 20, 30, or 40. And this is because we are running the software over the NVIDIA graphic cards. Okay. Let me go. What sectors do we have preference? Face recognition, you can use it in, let's say, in all the sectors: transportation, banking, retail, law enforcement, sports, events, casinos, and you will see later that we have reference in all of them. That's true that most of our reference and some of the important ones are in law enforcement, and this is easy because they're usually the police departments, the government are the ones who have, let's say, the bad guys list, okay? But sports events, very important because there's lots of people. Transportation also is rated with law enforcement because behind usually is police. Also in casinos, we have references on retail. Is something that is growing a lot. Retail, why? Because you will see now the range of products, and then we can combine here security plus marketing. Okay, but let's say you can use face recognition, all of them. That's true that the most successful verticals now are law enforcement, sports, and transportation rated with high security. But casinos is a very critical one, and retail is growing and growing more. Then there's a sector that is growing a lot, that is a little bit combination of several of them, that is safe cities. We have very strong reference in safe cities, and it's also a sector that is growing. But you said sector is a kind of mix between law enforcement and sports and transportation. And here you can use different applications. Bad guys, VIP. Also with marketing, we can get age, gender. But also it's something that sometimes people forget, and they always thinking that the face recognition is only to find, let's say, mostly bad guys. No, but also it's used a lot. So mainly in safe cities, on sports events, to find missing persons. So there are different applications that you can use around face recognition one, right? Let me explain quickly our portfolio. We can have like three different products. Okay, we have surveillance, access control, and marketing. Let's start with marketing. Is the one that is a little bit different from the other ones. Here, marketing, our solution is capable after detecting a face to give age, gender. This is very valuable information for a retailer or for a shopping mall to know who the customers are. And it works in the same way. We get the streaming from the camera or from the CATHEXIS VMS, we search for faces, and we give this information to the customers. Access control. People in front of the camera, we just detect one face, we compare against the database, and then if it matches, we trigger an alarm. So this can be, and we are integrated with CATHEXIS. CATHEXIS can trigger an alarm, and we are integrated with other third-party systems. Okay, and then we have the surveillance area that is more stronger. Let's start with post-processing. Recorded video footage. We detect faces, compare. The good thing of Biofinder is we are able to run faster than real time. We can go 5 to 12 faster than real time. This is very important. Why? Because you're a police department or security department that you get lots of video footage from CATHEXIS that you want to test, and you want to do what happened. You save lots of times because the system is faster than real time. And then we have real time. Just people passing by the camera. Here is important to know that we are compatible with almost all of the IP cameras of the market. If the camera is H.264 over RTSP or H.265, we're compatible with it. And we start working from 720p, we can run up to 8K cameras. The reason that we can deal with these huge resolution cameras and also always in real time, this is very important, is because our software is running over the NVIDIA graphic card. That gives us the chance to process the video in parallel with unlimited number of faces and high resolutions in real time. People passing by the camera, we have biosurveillance. Here it's a solution targeting retail, hospitality, banking, let's say small meat installations, or those ones that you don't need to detect more than 5 people simultaneously. And then you have biosurveillance next. Also, people passing by the camera, real time. But here we can detect 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people simultaneously. Important, only in real time. With biosurveillance next, we are able to make 60 million comparisons per second. Okay, so, and the real time is very important. It does not make sense to be able to identify, let's say, let's have always the worst case, a terrorist. If my alarm takes 20 seconds, 30 seconds, because then we will miss this guy. So this is important to be in real time. So 60 million comparisons per second, 20, 30, 40, 50 people simultaneously. This is our range solutions. All those alarms go to CATHEXIS. On CATHEXIS VMS, you will see that you can create rules, you can create a pre-recording, post-recording, all this stuff, so the customer have everything in one platform. Finally, just let me show you some reference to support us that we have referencing health, law enforcement, Thai police, Spanish police, Indonesian police, German police, Uruguay police, Colombian, governments, sports stadium with criticals, lots of people to find, usually hooligans, but also missing persons. Okay, so you need to be able to take lots of people simultaneously. Events, marathon, Los Angeles, global wars, critical infrastructure, safe cities is a sector that is growing quite a lot. Okay, important here to find bad guys, VIP guys here, no, sorry, bad guys, but also missing persons. That is quite important. Casinos, leisure, malls. So those are the reference, and I think we go back to the first slide. And as Gavin said, we are one of the most mature platforms. Last 10 years working on face recognition software, our solution is really tested, works well with lots of reference solutions. And I'm okay. So please, Dean. I think you are mute.
There we go.
Thank you.
A little bit of a technical glitch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just one last, sorry. If you have any question after that in the Q&A session, just ask and then I'll be happy to help you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Diego. Very informative. So we're going to look a little bit more in depth into the actual, nuts and bolts around how integration would really work between Herta and CATHEXIS. And what you can see here is we've got the CATHEXIS Vision platform that would be the collator of all of the different video cameras. So as I've mentioned before in the webinar, CATHEXIS have got the ability to integrate various different cameras on a native level. In other words, SDK drivers directly from the manufacturer. So we'll collate all of those video feeds into our platform and push that and analyze that and push that into a video database. At the same time, through our integration with Herta, we make video feeds, any of the video feeds available to Herta themselves. And what's great about this is that Herta doesn't really need to, even though they've got access to H.264 and H.265 drivers and ONVIF and all of the relevant video protocols, we make it actually quite easy for a customer or a system installer to be able to set this up because everything is already within CATHEXIS that gets exposed to Herta. And with the Herta interfaces, you would then be able to set up which of the video feeds you would like to do live video analysis for faces specifically on, whether it's for marketing or for access or for actual detection of groups of faces itself. So Herta will analyze all of that data. There's also a database within Herta that gets created at the same time, and then based on the setup and the configuration between the two systems, you'll then get metadata and faces and all the associated metadata with all those faces that got captured. So we'll go through a video quickly just to show you what that interface from CATHEXIS would look like, what kind of data you would get. And obviously within the CATHEXIS interfaces, you'd then be able to view and review these various different events and also set up various different event schedules to be able to respond to whatever information we're receiving out of the two systems and solutions. I'm going to play a video showing the integration database and some of the information that is available on CATHEXIS. So let me start that now.
In this short video clip, I'm going to show you the integration database for the Herta face recognition integration with CATHEXIS. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the database transactions and all the detail of those particular transactions. So you'll see the date and time, whether it's an identification or a detection. So detection means that it's detected a person, but it hasn't identified it because they're not enrolled in the database, or it hasn't recognized them against the database enrollment. First name, surname, what group they're in. So you can create multiple groups, whether it be a staff group or a blacklist group, whatever you might want to choose. What camera is associated with it. And then the ethnicity, gender, age, and whether the person's wearing glasses or not. You can change the user interface by dragging the camera view left or right, and that'll make the image bigger, but it'll obviously hide some of the transactions. So I'm going to just leave them that size so it'll be easier for this demonstration. On the right hand side, you'll see the details of that particular transaction. And then there's a few other buttons up here. You've got search buttons, smart filters, the ability to export the footage, which I'll cover in a bit more detail later, and the ability to create reports. On the bottom, you've got the navigation. So I can just drag this footage via the timeline like that. I can play it back. I can change the speed of playback. So that's playing double time now. And then I can also just navigate back via the timeline. Just going back 1 second. And I've even got the ability to immediately jump back 10 seconds and play back on the system. What I can also do here is archive. So I can drag this to a position where I want to start the archive. I can tag it using this tag button. Drag it to the point where I want to end the archive. And you'll see now it's highlighted a specific area that I've chosen. I click the database archive tab, and it now brings up the archive settings. Here you've got the option to add a password, so only people with that password will be able to view this footage. You can choose which folder you want to archive it to, and you can set a description. Jason getting coffee, etc. And you'll see that it archives the transaction data and the video footage. I must stress that with each transaction you can associate more than one camera if you want to, and then it'll just archive that into the folder that you've chosen to archive it to. Where I'm focusing now, if you look at these buttons here, you've got the option to loop the transaction, to play the transaction once, or to play all the transactions sequentially. So if I go and find all the transactions for Jason, I can effectively follow him through all the different cameras automatically. In the settings tab, you've got your what we call our lead in and lead out times. So I can choose to play 5 seconds of pre-events associated with the transaction, or 5 seconds of post-events, whatever I choose. So I've chosen 2 seconds pre and 2 seconds post the event to play for the specific transaction. So that's just a quick overview of the navigation of the database itself. So I'll run you through a few transactions. If I double click on this one, for instance, you can see it's still playing back in double time. It's telling me that's Lucinda David, CATHEXIS staff, and she's a white female. I'm going to put it back onto 1 speed. This is Jason Marshall on the same camera. And that's pretty much how you play back the systems. This is from yesterday. Another person in that particular camera view. Now, to find specific people, we've got a couple of ways to search this database. You've got your what we call our easy search, where you can quickly go and say, I want to search for someone with a surname, let's say Anderson Reed. And it'll go and find all the transactions for this person, Anderson Reed. And you can see there's Jamie Anderson Reed, 77% accurate. And that's the reference image for him on the left-hand side there. It says it's CATHEXIS staff, aged 33, which is probably about right. And there's many different search. So anything that's in the database, I can search for age. So I can say if the age is greater than 35, go and find me all the transactions. And you can see we've also got a database running, and you can see it's told me that Lawrence Fishburne is definitely over 55. So these are all the quick searches. I can search for a particular group. So I can look at the matrix staff, and I can go and play back. And it's told me that's Fiona Johnson, and she's from the matrix staff. If I want to be more sophisticated in my search, I can use what we call our smart filter. So here I can choose the date. So I can say, right, I want to look, and we've got a whole lot of presets. I can look in the last quarter, week to date, today, yesterday, etc. I can choose a specific time, from and to. I can look very quickly, say in the previous hour or the previous day, or I can choose a specific period from and to a specific period. So I'm just going to say, right, in the month to date, and then I want to say if the group is CATHEXIS staff and the surname is David. So in the month to date, CATHEXIS staff and the surname is David. It now comes up with all the transactions for Lucinda David. Okay. So I can double click on those and then play them back. Now I can play these back sequentially. I'm going to choose double speed, and I've chosen to play them sequentially. So now they'll run through those transactions in sequence. Obviously, if there were cameras on multiple doors, this would be able to show the person walking through the multiple doors. I can then go and easily edit that filter. Let's say I want to choose someone from the Matrix cast, and if the first name is, let's say, Fiona, and it'll show all the transactions for Fiona Johnson. And this is a camera that's just looping, so I'm not going to play them all back, but there's a Fiona Johnson, and you'll see her again here because it's just looping, but not a bad view anyway. So that's pretty much the database. If I want to now create an export, I can export via PDF or CSV file, and I'm now exporting whatever I have filtered on. So it's now exported into this, and you can choose which folder you want to export. Okay. The other option is to create a report, because I'm going to add a report, a daily report, and I'll say I want to do it daily. I want to look at the events. I want to sort it by time. I want to create a PDF in portrait orientation, and I just want to look at yesterday, or I could choose in the previous 12 hours, but just say yesterday, and I want to schedule it weekly or daily at midnight on every day of the week. Now I can go and add recipients. I can put in an email address. And it'll automatically email that report to myself. I can also put in multiple email addresses. And you can see there's 2 addresses added there. So that's pretty much the database navigation for the Herta Facial Recognition.
All right, so when you take all of this, I mean, the database setup is really to start looking at forensic search applications. The other side of the coin around being able to monitor this video is to be able to receive live events as they occur. So as Herta recognizes let's say a suspect face, or maybe the CEO of a company that's entering into the front of the door, certain actions need to take place. And one thing that CATHEXIS has got within the solution is a very flexible, very powerful event configuration tool where you can have various different event triggers coming in. In other words, the CEO of a corporate entering in, or a suspect being detected at an entrance of a retail store. And you can then also have various different actions that can then take place out of this actual event itself. So if we have a look and use an example of let's say, an event trigger, we can use any of the fields that we would receive from the Herta system. So whatever group was added, the gender, the face, very similar to what was seen within the database, you can set up as a filter and a rule-based application within your event configuration tool. And it's a very strong Boolean type function for the trigger. So you can use various different and or functions and really stack your event trigger properly so that you can make sure that specific events have specific actions in play. So if we use an example, let's say a face is detected at an entrance for a face that is added into the engineering group. So it's an engineer that comes in after hours because there's a call out that they need to go and fix something on a generator. We can then have various different actions within the actual system itself. The one could be, switch on the lights for the interleading areas that this engineer would have to walk through to get to the room that they're looking for. We could, at the same time, as an action, also send an event through to an on-site or off-site control room so that they can follow, using our JSON camera mapping tools, follow the engineer throughout the building and ensure that health and safety protocols are adhered to and also the safety of an engineer. If it's, it could also be that all zones are restricted, let's say after hours, and the face gets detected, whether it's known or unknown, it gets presented in an event queue in front of an operator so they get notified of this person entering the site. They can then possibly connect to that person via an integrated intercom, confirm why they are there, and then through our interfaces then give access to that person, yes or no. So there could be a little bit of a stopgap. So there's lots of use cases around being able to have, let's say, a face being detected and possibly seeing motion, and it is after hours. So you can have various different rule sets in your trigger groups to be able to then have the right actions that takes place after that. So yeah, event actions, I've mentioned that you can send an event to a control room. Another great application is to, when a face gets detected from an area that is off limits. So let's say no one should move around this area because there's toxic gases or any kind of form of health and safety requirements for not having people there. We can then play an automated audio clip to say that you're entering into a restricted area, and at the same time also send the event through to the control room so they can take action and ensure that this person's safety is being adhered to. Various different layouts can be switched to a monitor. We can send an email just with the metadata itself to say that we've seen someone in an area. So this could be very relevant for, let's say, a CEO that enters a building, and a notification can be sent by email to his receptionist to make sure that the right people are ready for a meeting, whatever it is that the CEO might be there. Presets on PVZ cameras, in other words, move cameras into areas, switch layouts of various different camera monitors onto different monitors. So we're really talking around being able to make your control room as effective and efficient as possible and try and automate as many aspects of your monitoring to be able to become more effective and efficient at the end of the day. And then lastly, you can control an output. So as Diego's mentioned before, there's access control applications that you can do either directly from Herta into the third-party access control systems they monitor, or we can actually trigger an output as well if the person being read is within the correct group. So there's various different ways that you can apply that kind of application. So I'm gonna move on to the questions and answer session. We've reached the end of our webinar, and I would love to get Daryl to join the conversation. We can have a look at some of the questions that you guys have asked.
Yeah, here there is Dominic is asking, how are you doing this in city or stadiums environment with the cameras? Okay, just to have an idea, Dominica, we need a certain number of pixels, okay? But just to have an idea, with 1080p cameras, we can cover a wide area between 2.5 meters, 3 meters wide. With 4K, we can go double and 8K, right? So the distance from the camera, that's true that you need an angle, okay? The maximum angle that you recommend is 15 degrees from the horizontal of the face. It could be a little bit more, but this is the optimal one. And then the distance from the camera, you need to play with the zoom of the camera. Okay, I was taking into account the resolution. You will know the white area to cover that you can cover. With the zoom, you will go closer or or you will increase the distance, okay? And then with the, but that's true that you need certain angle just to be sure that we have as much frontal faces as we have, okay? Because this is important. Anyway, there is a documentation that we have. It's called Working Conditions, okay, where it explains everything in detail. And so if you drop an email to any of us, we'll be happy to give you this document. So with this, you can, with this file, you can find all these solutions. But just to remind you, the white area is the resolution between 2.5, 3 meters wide with 1080p, 6 meters was with around 6 meters wide with 4K. The distance, you need to play with the lens, okay, and then the angle in order to have as frontal faces as possible, okay. There is another question. Is there any minimum requirement for the Herta server running? Yeah, we have a file that is called hardware requirements, okay, and in this, depending on the hardware requirements depends on number of cameras, resolution of the cameras, okay, and then the number of people that are passing by the camera. So taking into account all this, we will have a number of cameras per server and hardware recommendations or specifications. We can start just to have we can start with a server for 4 cameras if there is not a very crowded environment. 4 1080p cameras with 4 cores, 8 threads, 8 GB RAM, and with a NVIDIA graphic card GTX 1660. Okay, and then we can go to up to 32 cameras with 24 cores, 48 threads, 32 GB RAM, and an RTX 2080 Ti. The important is our solution, in order to be, let's say, more to lower the cost of ownership, is compatible also with the gaming cards from NVIDIA. So we can run the system with gaming cards, Quadro cards, and Tesla cards. So the 3 options are okay for us. That depends on the customer, but that gives us the chance to lower a little bit the cost of the hardware. So we are compatible also with the gaming cards. And I said, there is also that we have a file that also you can get it from us, okay, where it gives you the hardware recommendations depending on the number of cameras and the environment. It's important also if it's very crowded or not, because it's not the same to detect 5 faces per camera to detect 40 faces. At the end, we need to process more, okay, but there is a document. So if you drop an email to us, we will be happy to send it to you.
I'll step in here. The question was, can we do an appearance search? Through the CATHEXIS metadata base, whatever fields come up there, you can actually do very specific filtering on those fields, and you can pull up any video footage that is recorded on the system that pertains to the search criteria. So obviously you would have to identify from there further, but yes, you can do an appearance search from within CATHEXIS.
Yeah, so the buyer finder, Daryl, the buyer finder application within Herta specifically also talks to if you've actually got, if it's a missing person, as the question is stated, either you can use the known information, so gender, age, and ethnicity as filters, but the buyer finder application with Herta, if you can import a photo of the missing person, and you select, the cameras that you want to then process post. So there's now post analysis and post processing. That would be the application to use to be able to search for the specific missing person, and then obviously take it, take it from there.
Another question that came. Sorry, Diego, carry on if you have more to add to that.
No. I was going to another question. So go ahead, please.
No problem. Another question that was asked is it possible to integrate this technology into access control when an individual can gain or be denied access to a facility based on the image of that individual? From the CATHEXIS point of view, we can only do that if the access control is already integrated within CATHEXIS, and we have the rights through the API to actually control doors. However, Diego can answer that because it will be a separate integration between the access control and Herta rather than the access control and CATHEXIS as to whether it can be directly integrated into an access control system. Diego, that's yours?
Yeah, but it's similar, like the same like you say, we need to have the integration done with this third-party software. So that we have an SDK, and then we need to integrate, because at the end, our solution, as I think I explained, and it's important, we just trigger alarms, events. So we don't open really the door. What we will do is Diego is there, and then we need to talk to this third device, and this third device will open the door. Okay, so there is an option. We have an SDK, and we can integrate. We are integrated with some systems, and also it can be done through you if you have the integration. So at the end, if there is a specific solution, we need to check if it's integrated in your solution or our solution, or we need to do an integration. That depends a little bit, but yeah, it can run. We have different integrations with different access controls also.
There was a very relevant question from Cyril. It was asking, he was asking around, how does the system handle masked faces? So, you know, they can talk a little bit more to that, but that's something that Herta specifically did development on in the middle of last year, to be able to deal with people coming back into a workplace where it's mandatory to wear masks. And you know, that the video that we actually showed where Gus was filtering through the databases, one of our staff members was using a mask there, and typically you'll find that your percentage of accuracy falls slightly, but it's within, you know, if the camera is set up correctly and the installation of the site is done well, you can negate the risk of low confidence levels and still be able to have enough reference points on a face to be able to identify that person accurately.
Yeah, it's like this. We needed to, with this COVID-19 solution, we needed to work on the to be able to detect and to identify people wearing a mask, because at the end, if you mask is covering also half of the face, so that means, as you said, the level of accuracy goes slightly down, but it is normal because there is almost no face, but the system really works well. And also, you know, we can offer a demo license so you can test and play with it. We do a specific, we have done during this year specific work to improve just the detection and also identification with masks. Okay.
Right. Yeah, Diego, there's one last question, which I think is also quite relevant from John Friedman.
This is the one. The lighting conditions, that's true, that affect to us. Okay, if you have a terrible backlight, there is no face. Okay, so you need to be careful. That's why it's important to have, if it's for outdoor or it's going to be changes in illumination, it's important to have very good white dynamic range. That will help. Okay, because it changes. Also, if it's in, you need to try to avoid windows, doors, just to check that. Okay, because the backlight affects us. We can work night. Okay, why? Because the first thing that Herta does is just to remove the color from the face, so we can work with black and white camera. So this is not a big deal. Usually, when you work at night, you need to disconnect or the white dynamic range. Okay, but the system works well. That's true that it makes a little bit more difficult the identification for us, but it's not because of the black and white. It's because during night, the camera is creating some noise. So that noise affects the quality of the image, and that affects a little bit of us. But that is not a big deal. And you need to be careful with some of the IR cameras, because sometimes if the IR is very strong, they burn the faces. Okay? So you need to be careful with this all of these different, but the system works, but be careful. Avoid backlights, very good white dynamic range. If there is change in illumination at night, day, night, or if you are going to use an IR camera, be careful with because sometimes it can burn the face. Okay, so you need to take into account all this kind in order to do that, but the system really works. We have 24/7 hours installation that is working day and night. Okay, but be careful with all these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, it really comes down to if accurate detections on using camera-based technology is critical to the client. It would be recommended that they use the best quality camera they can get that's specifically fit for purpose for the application. And what's great around the CATHEXIS ecosystem is that we've got various different relationships with various different technology vendors, including camera manufacturers, which we support. So from region to region, we do see that various different camera manufacturers are the choice within that region, just because of the type of relationships and support there is in country. And feel free to engage with us to find out how we look at these various different manufacturers. But some of the top manufacturers in the world, we do support and have very good relationships with, including Axis, Bosch, Mobotics, just to name a few, and there's various others as well. And it's important to choose the right camera for the right application. And Herta's got documentation around, looking at various different aspects, height of installation, angle to face. There's various different technical resources you can tap into to ensure that, the implementation will improve the accuracy of, the reads that you get, and also having them to deal with difficult or, challenging environmental conditions. We can tie in our camera manufacturer technology partners as well to also then engage with you as a customer to ensure that you choose the right product to ensure that accuracy is obtained.
As you said, the quality of the camera is important.
Yes,
if the quality is
absolutely
good, it helps. At the end, the camera is let's say, it's our eyes. So if if the camera is not giving us a right image with the right quality, it makes it more difficult for us. So the number of false positive or detections. Okay, but as you said, we have, and also with the hardware recommendations, we have documentation for that. Okay. So any question or whatever, just drop an email to us, and we will be happy to forward to you, to send to you all these kind of documents that will help you to set up. Also, you can always ask us. We will be happy to help you.
Okay, thank you, Diego. Thank you, Daryl. I think I would like to thank you for joining us on the CATHEXIS and Herta Facial Recognition webinar. I trust that it was informative, and we look forward to having many discussions with our partners and our customers just around how we can use innovative solutions and technologies to offer value to you as our customers, and drive real return on investments. Both of our websites are up on the screen, and there's quite a lot more content and information around our solutions. And should you need any further information, or you need to reach out to us, the CATHEXIS email address is info@cathexisvideo.com. What's the email address that they can reach out to you, Diego?
It's you can go to the web page, okay, and then it's to do some questions, but also info@hertasecurity.com. Yes, but in the web page there's a specific that you can ask your questions or whatever, okay, and then you can give us your details, and we will answer you.
Fantastic.
Okay,
thank
so
you.
Thanks a lot.
Have
Also,
a good day.
A lot of you for joining, and let's keep in contact. Thank you.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.